James here from JVC Paints. Welcome back to the channel. As a follow-up of the Painting Bolt Action U.S. Winter Army video that I just did, I've done the remainder of the sprue of the Fallschirmjager. There's 5 figures here. I did one as a test figure for the very first video for the unboxing, and I decided, okay, let's get stuck in on these guys. So we got the 5 here. We're going to concentrate on the MMG guy here. He's going to be the guy I'm going to use as most of my examples. But then I'm also going to show you how I did small bits of equipment like the Panzerfaust as well. So yeah, let's get stuck in. Let's take a look at some photos and I'll talk you through it.
Got to start with a bit of a spoiler here, guys. The lighting isn't always consistent, but the photos are in focus and the details can be seen. So, without any further ado, let's take a look at this figure here. First, I gave the figures an undercoat of mahogany brown from Mr. Hobby, the spray, and then I gave the flesh and the wood an antique maroon base coat. The first highlight on the flesh was a dwarven flesh, or a deep shading flesh is what the color I use is called. And I made sure to leave the gaps between the fingers and in places on the face and things like that to give it the figure a lot more depth and a lot more character as I moved along. The second highlight on the flesh, and unfortunately here it's kind of bled out by the lighting, is an elf flesh or a highlight flesh. And again, I just went over the absolute high points on the actual model itself. Then to give the flesh part a brick red wash, very liberal, all over the place. Splashed it around if I had to, make sure it got in all the recesses. Once the wash is dry, I go in and I do the eyes and the details. So I'll do the eyes in black first, and I'll put 2 white dots on either side. And in this case, I did the mouth as well. I did a few teeth in the upper row. I also took the time to do the black straps there on the helmet. Then to finish off the flesh, I'll go in and I'll use the last highlight, the elf flesh or high flesh, and I'll pick out all the super details, bits on his nose, the chin, and knuckles. And then as a final step, I'll do a little bit of a purple bit on the bottom lip, just to give it a little bit of color. With the flesh out of the way, it's time to move on to the uniform. So I've given the helmet, the jacket, and the pants a field gray base color, and I'll be working from that and bringing it up to the white. So the first highlight that's going on here is a Space Wolf gray, or I use a color called French blue gray, and I've dappled it onto the helmet, but I've gone in on the jacket and the pants and left some of the darker areas for contrast later on. Next step is to bring it up a little bit, so I've used an off-white, very, very light beige, dappled again on the helmet, and then I've gone over the jacket and the pants again, leaving some of the darker colors to build up that contrast that later on will really, really help the figure out. The next part here is to put a wash over that white of that French blue gray or that Space Wolf gray color, make sure that I get it in all the recesses. Be careful not to get any of it on the flesh. Then I base coated the boots, webbing, and the gun all in black, and that's the next color we're going to work on here. I gave the black a highlight of a mix of black and sort of a midnight or mid-blue. One highlight is generally pretty good for this figure, is there's not a lot of it on here, and you really don't have to get too into it. After the black, I moved on to the brown, as you can see here in the details on the ammo belt. So the brown, I highlighted it up with a burnt sienna, and then on top of the burnt sienna, I mixed it with a sort of a honey brown color, just to bring it up, make it a little bit more lively. For the ammo belt, I used the celery green that I used for the webbing on the Americans, and then I did the tops of the bullets there. I sort of picked them out with the same sort of orangey brown that I had used for the canteen and the stock on the MG42. With the details all out of the way, I went in and did the white, the final white for the figure. So dappled a bit on the helmet, and then I went over with a pure white on the pants and the jacket, picking out all the details and leaving the recesses. The next step on the figure is to do the basing. The first thing I did with the basing here is I gave a small brown wash on his pants and his boots below the knee, just to simulate some dirt and grime that he'd get while in the field. And then once that was dry, I went through and I dry brushed the base in a white color. And then I did the lip of the base in a dark chocolate brown just to tie the whole thing together. Some of the figures have some special equipment like Panzerfaust and like carrying ammo cases and stuff like that. So let's take a look at how I do that. So the Panzerfaust in this case, of course, it was primed mahogany brown, and then I went over it with that light cream beige color, just picking out all the details and making sure that I left the dark outlines for contrast later on. Then I gave the Panzerfaust a brown wash. The brown wash just basically takes that beige color and tones it way down, giving it that sort of dark yellowy look that you're looking for late war. Once the wash was dry, using a crappier, older brush, I gave it a bit of a black dry brush just to simulate paint chips and scratches and things like that. And then I went in and just kind of painted that little sort of instruction decal that they had on the head of the Panzerfaust, just to give it a little bit of detail. From 3 feet away, it looks great. Here's the LMG guy you guys have been looking at for the last couple of minutes. The base is completely done here. I've used the Warlord Games snow effect, and I've given him a tuft to spice it up a little bit. Here are some of the other figures here. We've got this guy here. He's got an STG-44. I mixed up the equipment. I'm not really building towards a list. I just wanted to build some cool-looking figures. So we got that guy there. Here's the obverse. Here you can see his equipment in a little bit more detail. Here's the guy with the Faust. Yeah, you might be able to see that with the Faust, I went in, I touched up with a little bit white on that decal on top of the Faust warhead there. But I tried to pick out the buttons on the ammo pouches and things like that, the small things on the back, because you need something for it to pop against that white. Here's the loader for the LMG. I gave him a standard helmet. I didn't camo it up. I wanted to do the National Shield on the side there. It was the reason. Gave him an MP40, and you can see I used the same technique on the ammo box there as I did on the Faust. Here we've got the last guy here with his PPSH-41. He's about to whip a grenade at somebody. Always have a ginger guy in your army. You just need him there, because if you don't have one, your army's incomplete. That's my philosophy. Here's a group shot of the 5 figures that we've done here today. White is not an easy task to do for wargaming. That's why you don't see a lot of 28mm Austrian armies for Napoleonics or winter armies in pure white. You're never really satisfied with the results. However, if you can make it clean enough and you can have it that the equipment and weapons and things like that sort of stand out and give it some kind of contrast, you'll be able to sell it, I think, and it'll look pretty good. So I hope somebody found this useful. I hope you're having a good time painting your new bolt action armies as much as I am. On my channel coming up, I think the next bolt action project will probably be those Winter Americans. I'll have the whole army done, and then these guys will follow up after that. Until then, guys, thanks for watching. Have a great weekend, and keep those brushes moving, and we will catch you in the next one. Take care, and bye-bye.